Okay, this is our 4th of July weekend video 3 for the speech 2, the process speech, and we'll continue with the critiques. This one goes to Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell, you talked about tornado. Let's start with the audience. I cannot see the audience face, any of them. I have no idea anything about the audience. Wrong camera shot. I can't see your visuals, your diagrams. They need to be larger, or as I said in the kind of the housekeeping video, you can send those to me so when you refer to them, I know what you're referring to. Very, very low volume. I could barely hear you. You have done nothing to establish your credibility on what you're talking about. You talked about tornadoes. You stopped suddenly at the start. Why? When you're speaking, you need to go all the way through. You're looking at about flow, smoothness, consistency. This sounds like a informational speech, and it also sounds like you had all kinds of information from other sources. I don't know that you're a meteorologist. You sure sounded like one, and you've got to cite your sources in your speech. You cited none. You sound like you're reading from an encyclopedia. You're not being conversational. You're not speaking to me. You're speaking at me. Explain unusual terms. You talked about a mesocyclone. Wonderful. Even sometimes when you do a speech and you use a strange term, you can even spell it. That helps the audience. Mesocyclone, how would you spell that? And so you can say the term, and then you can spell it, and then define it. And then you just stopped. You had no build up to your ending at any kind. It just, your speech stopped. All right, and that's not good. And read the rubric. You'll see that there are things in there like, did you kind of review what you were talking about? Did you talk about the things that will help the audience understand by going back over sometimes? The visuals I mentioned you can't see. I can't tell about your audience. I think you were, you had a couple of good, you had your speech outline and your preparation outline was excellent. And that's all good stuff. But you need to make sure, and I'm going to give you a plus for the visuals, but I can't see them. I mean, the concept of using visuals and preparing the visuals, so that's good. Your speech ran 6 minutes. Okay, so you're right in the middle, 5 to 7 minutes with respect to that, fine. And just take to heart the things that I'm talking to you about. Next up is Apollo, and you talked about planning a wedding. Stand still. You bounce. You kind of, you're a bouncer. And boy, you know, I'm over exaggerating, but you can see how that can really distract from what you're doing. You have way too much movement when you're speaking. Let me focus on you and not try to figure out when you're going to run out of energy, when you're going to fall over, or any of those kinds of things. Slow down. You kind of hit a lot of information so fast that at times it was unintelligible what it was that you were talking about at a given moment. What's your credibility? You got married? I don't know. It could be that. You're a wedding planner. Big difference between a wedding planner's credibility and you got married. But give me something to go on, or otherwise, who are you to be talking about this? What is it you know that no one else in the world knows, or that I couldn't find out someplace else? And sometimes, you know, hey, I've been to a lot of weddings and I've observed some things, and, you know, let me share with you some things I think you could avoid making these kinds of mistakes in your wedding. I even put in here on the bouncing that I kind of felt like I was watching an old Shirley Temple movie. I mean, it's just, you're kind of terminal happy and bouncy and all of that, and you need to give us a little break from too much sugar and I'm diabetic. I don't have your photo ID. No more speeches will be accepted. You need to fix your camera shot. It needs to be closer. This shot right here is the shot I need to see. I'm not sure you gave me an outline for the speaker notes, but I only have one thing here, and it has your name is not on it, and it says speech, outline, and notes. You can't do both. They're two different things, and it's got to be very specific about that. Drop my watch. Okay, we'll move on. Let's go to Freedom. And Freedom, you talked about planning vacations. Follow your notes when you get stuck, and don't panic or laugh when you get stuck. That's why you have notes. Just use them. Help get from one point to another. Finish strong. Don't die at the end. Have you heard kind of a theme here with a number of people we're talking about who just died at the end of their speech? This was a good speech with several strong points in the speech. Way to go. It was conversational. It had a friendly tone. It was very useful information. And you shared it with a very natural style. This is my friend talking to me about something that can save me money, make my planning go better, and make for a better experience in the long run. And boy, all of us could use that. You had good audience intro and camera composition. Watch your grammar. Watch the tisk. You were a little short. Well, you were a lot short. It ran 3 minutes and 42 seconds. And you said on the grammar what we done for what we did. And you can make your speech go a lot smoother when you work on it. But, you know, I like a lot of what you did. Build on that. Because I think you've got a lot of strong points there. All right, let's move on to Lefty. Lefty, you talked about patient assessment. No more health-related speeches of any kind whatsoever. I won't accept them. All right. Now, it's hard to hear you. There's no presence in your audio. You use words you couldn't readily pronounce, like paralela. And when you get to a word you can't pronounce and you're talking about something that requires a kind of expertise, you destroy your credibility. You did establish your credibility, so that's okay, but you got to make sure you can pronounce words you're using. Tie the audience into what you were doing. How does this apply to the rest of us? I don't need to know how a doctor does a proctology exam. I need to know why I ought to go to a doctor for a proctology exam. So keep that in mind. You sent me multiple copies of outlines and speaker notes. I'm not exactly sure what everything is. Watch the ums and the ahs. Follow the rules on the audience. You stopped for roughly 15 seconds. You need to do that. Your speech ran long. It ran 7 minutes and 46 seconds. All right, we'll wrap it up with Runner. Runner, you gave a process speech on baking bread. All right, couple of things. Watch the cooking shows. Never but never do you see a cooking show where they measure out everything in the show. It's already pre-measured. It's in a little dish or a bowl or something, and they just dump it. Okay? Do that. Watch how they do what you're trying to do. It was a good idea. Everything that we talked about, the eggs are already cracked. You did some stuff with apples, that kind of stuff. The camera shot was too wide. A lot of white in your camera shot. You're what's in a video terms called blooming, and there's things I can't see specifically. I can't see your eyes. Annoying camera noise. I don't know where that's coming from. Know how you will end, so there's no awkward pause between putting it in the oven and finding your notes to end the speech, and follow the directions on seeing the audience. Remind us of what you're doing and why. The speech outline, there were no speaker notes, and this screamed at the end, you heard me say this in the kind of the housekeeping, it screamed for you to show me the final product. You were talking about it, you did all of this stuff, now show me what it looks like when it's actually done. Okay? All right, you have more stuff coming up. Don't forget the discussion boards, don't forget the exams. Really read all of the information that's available for you on what the speech should be about, how to do it. Look at the rubrics for the grading, what we're going to be looking for when we grade the speech. Don't forget credibility. It's something you have to establish every single time you give a speech. And sometimes it's just simply as easy as saying, I have been interested in this topic all of my life. And it's also easy if credibility is, I've been a heart surgeon for most of my life. Okay, two different ways of establishing credibility. One, obviously you do it. Another one, you've read about it. Okay, but it's credibility. So help me with that. Follow the rules on the camera shot. Follow the rules on your audience, and everything will be fine. All right, I'm going to go out and watch some fireworks. You have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time.